welcome to Health Practice of the Greatest Minds podcast, the podcast on a mission to inspire and guide world health transformation, a podcast on a mission to transform health crisis into health abundance. And on this podcast, I'm going to be interviewing leaders in different areas, entrepreneurs, creators, artists, leaders in all kinds of areas who are um, dedicated to creating positive change in the world. And I'm going to be unwilling or releasing their secrets of their health practice that I believe lies in the foundation of any success in life. And today I'm really excited to welcome Tom Bilyeu, exciting, I don't know, great leader, entrepreneur who you might know as a co-founder of Quest Nutrition, uh, the company that produces bars that you can find anywhere in the world, protein bars and protein powders and all kinds of healthy snacks, and the company on a mission to make healthy food as good food good for you. And I fell in love with Tom's mission that and what he's doing in the world even more when I found out about his latest creation, the impact theory, and their mission to free people from matrix and poor mindset of poverty, and helping people, helping creators, entrepreneurs, anyone to start their business, to build something, to solve world challenges. So welcome, Tom. I'm really excited to welcome you on the show as my first
Thank
guest.
you. Yeah, thank you for having me.
So I did a short introduction, but um, tell people more about you. What's important for you? Who are you in the world? What are you doing? What's your mission?
Well, you did a really good job of explaining it. I'll just give a little more color. So, like you said, when we did Quest, our goal there was really to end metabolic disease. It was find a way to make food that people could choose based on taste, and it happened to be good for them. And it's the notion of trying to leverage behavior instead of change it. You know, we know that people eat for pleasure much more than they eat for sustenance, which is what gets people into trouble. And so we wanted to address that by giving people food that they could love eating and that it didn't have to, healthy living didn't have to be all about sacrifice. So that was the goal there, and did that for 6.5 years about, and was amazing, and really loved it. And my second passion is the mind. So to me, wellness is a 360-degree endeavor. So Quest was, I think, is doing amazing things for the body, and then I wanted to do equally amazing things for the mind, and so founded a new company with my wife called Impact Theory. And as you said, the idea behind impact theory is to pull people from the matrix, which is a more or less a cute way of saying that we want to end what we call generational poverty, which is really, it's a mindset issue. It's not about money. And we just, find that, myself included very much, start from a position of not really knowing what we're capable of, having limiting beliefs, and just like in the movie The Matrix, once you realize that that's a construct, that it's essentially a web of lies that you've pulled over your own eyes, and you're believing things about the world that don't empower you, that actively disempower you. And if you can get rid of those, that you really can do anything you set your mind to. And so we wanted to create a company that delivered on that promise, and it's not always easy to explain exactly how we're going to do it, but the overly simplified version is we incubate companies and we incubate content creators, and we believe that there's a connection between those two things, and that's why we've chosen those two things to get behind.
uh, I mean, I could not express like how aligned I feel with this mission, and how I'm really thankful and grateful for you doing it. You know, trying to help as many people as you can to um, get to be free to get out of their own mind, of their limited mind, and then do whatever they're passionate about, changing the world, making this world a better place through services and products that solve world's challenges. And you're behind the people who have a mission behind the business, not just financial, but mostly passionate goal. And yeah, I'm really grateful for you of doing that. And the mission of my podcast, the mission of what I do, is I want to free people too from their beliefs that there got to be that they need to have something or to be someone special, to be healthy, to be fitter, to be their healthiest and fittest self, and to do what they love to do. And I believe the foundation lies in health practices, what people do for their health, their body and their mind. And that's why, I wanted to learn more from someone successful in all areas of life. You do what you love. You're amazing businessman, but you're also a great husband, a great dad. I read a lot of really positive, amazing things about you. So I want to learn more from you. Like, what's your health practice? Do you practice health at all? Like, do you think it's important? Like, what you eat, how you exercise, how you choose to move, like what kind of lifestyle you have. Then also, of course, mindful practices. So share with me more of that. Like, what's your health practice like?
Yeah, so I think you're right on the money. I think it really, really is important, and it comes down to the things that you do every day. And I think that that's one of the things that people really don't fully understand is that it's not what you believe; it's your habits. It's the things that you're constantly doing. Those are going to be the things that determine the outcome of your life, and they're certainly going to be the things that'll determine how much change you're able to see in your life. And so, if you're trying to be healthier, it really is getting into those routines, habits and adjusting those to make sure that you're inserting a much more powerful and useful habits. And so my whole life is governed by habits and routines. I very much have needed to do that because left to my own devices, I am exceedingly lazy. I eat only bad food. So to really escape the fate of so many people in my family who, to a large degree, are morbidly obese, I just knew that I was going to have to figure this out, not only understand it, but be able to live it. And so I use a few techniques, including bright lines. So one of my bright lines is I pre-plan what I'm going to eat, and I only eat those things, and I only eat them at the times that I say that I'm going to eat. So, and I do that to combat hunger, right? Because I'm going to inevitably get hungry during the day, and I'm going to have every excuse in the book as to why I should be able to eat more. But because I have that bright line that says, okay, this is what you eat it at 11:30, not before, then I stick to that because it's very clear, very simple. I work out 5 days a week. I don't enjoy working out. I'm unfortunately not one of those people that gets the endorphin rush from working out. But I recognize that to optimize the brain, you really have to optimize the body. And that's just like a truth, right? So there's a ton of research out there. And if anybody's interested, read the book Spark by John Rady that talks about how simply having somebody take a test or read something after physical exertion, getting your heart rate up, they'll do better. They'll remember more or they'll do better on a cognitive test. And so just having my own obsession with improving my brain, that's really led me to working out in the gym. So I've been working out in the gym, God, for almost 15 years now. I work out. I used to work out 6 days a week. I now work out 5 days a week. And that's like just one of those things that I do all the time, all the time, all the time, regardless of whether I want to be doing it or not. And my morning routine goes something like this. So for me, a morning routine starts the night before. So I always go to bed by 9 p.m. That's like a religion for me. And I don't set an alarm. So I wake up when I wake up. To give you an example, so last night I went to bed at 9. I woke up at 12:30. That's less than ideal. So if I've gotten less than 5 hours, I try to fall back asleep. But if I've gotten 5 hours or more, I get out of bed. So last night I tried to fall back asleep, but couldn't. So I got out of bed at 2:30, went straight to the gym. So, if you're following me on Instagram, you'll see me check in the gym at like whatever, 2:45 and just get straight to it. Do my workout. I'm usually in the gym for about an hour. And then I go straight into meditation. And then after meditating, I do what I call thinkitating, which is basically taking the alpha brainwave state that you're in from meditating, which is a highly relaxed and creative state, and applying it towards whatever business problem I'm struggling with at the time. And then from there, I read. And that's me feeding my mind, as it were. And then no matter what time I get up, I don't eat before 7 a.m. That's just another one of my bright lines. And on days where I wake up later than 2:30, I'll push it and try to get it closer to 8 or 8:30, just because it makes making it to my 11:30 meal a little bit easier. And I find that the gap between meal one and meal two is where I'm hungriest. So that's the one that I always try to push my meal one back as far as I can. And then I don't really ever cheat on my diet. So even on the weekends, I spike my calories, but I don't eat sugar or anything like that. And then just to really round things out, I do a split. So I do 4 days a week of high protein and then 3 days a week of high fat or ketogenesis. So that's sort of in a nutshell what I do to stay fit and healthy.
Well, that sounds like a lot actually for most people to even, comprehend. But a lot of people don't realize that when you get as successful as you get, but even before that, you got to invest in your health. And it's not just, your success doesn't just come from nowhere. You got to prepare your body and your mind so they're in the best shape so you could handle, the different challenges that come up every day in your life and actually have the energy to do all those, things, go for bigger goals, go for your visions. You got to first have that energy that you create through health practices. And that's, a lot of people don't talk about that. And that's what I want to talk about and make people realize that you got to do that. You got to invest in your health in order to get any other success in other areas of your life, business, relationship, and other things. So
No, I totally agree.
you talked, about your workout routine, about nutrition. I wanted to concentrate about a little bit more on details. Like you said, you don't eat any sugar. Are there any other things that you don't eat? That,
Yeah, my diet is very, very restricted, and I don't necessarily encourage people to eat the way that I eat. I eat that way out of laziness, out of a desire for foods that taste a certain way. So we created Quest to really solve our own problems. So I eat a lot of Quest products, and that's not me being self-serving. That's me being lazy. So it's, so on high protein days, I eat our Quest chips, which, are very limited ingredients, isolate proteins, but they taste really good. And then we have these protein peanut butter cups, and I'll have some of those as well. And then I eat a lot of eggs, fatty meats like gyro meat, which is a Greek meat,
Mhm.
and then pepperoni because I love it. And then I just basically rinse and repeat those meals. And then also Quest has these line of keto meals, and even on high protein days, I'll have one keto meal. So do that, and then that's essentially Monday through Thursday, and then Friday I start shifting into more ketogenic, so less protein, higher fat. And yeah, and then on the weekends, I'll throw in things like macadamia nuts and avocado to really take my fat up. And my big splurge is these clean nachos that my wife makes, which are made from Quest protein chips
Mhm.
with gyro meat, pepperoni, cheese. And then if there's, I don't have these on the nachos, but oftentimes with the nachos, this cheese called halloumi cheese, which is a Greek cheese. My wife is Greek, which is how I end up with all this Greek stuff in my diet. And halloumi cheese is unbelievable. It is so delicious. And so I really take my fat and my calories through the roof on a Saturday. But again, not doing any sugar or anything like that. Really just and that is both. There's really three factors for me. One, I put on fat very, very easily, and I find that sugar and carbohydrates cause me to add fat just like super rapidly. I joke with people and say, if I have like a bowl of ice cream or a loaf of bread, you would hear me get fatter because it happens that rapidly. I'm not kidding. And then so I don't have anything like that. And the other reason is longevity. I want to live forever. And then the third reason is inflammation. My joints actually hurt. My joints will even hurt if I spike my protein too consistently for too long. So I find that's why I got into a keto diet because it controls inflammation.
Uh, you were talking a lot about protein, fats, and avoiding carbs. But do you eat any carbs at all? Like, what about vegetables, fruits, all that? Like, other
I
part of
don't
the diet?
I don't do fruit. My stance on fruit is, it's amazing and it's probably better for you than a candy bar, but it's, just loaded with sugar. And I totally get that most people really, really care about something being natural, and that sort of a makes everything okay. But that for me just doesn't work. If I eat a lot of fruit, then I will start to put on fat. So I don't do that. I wouldn't, I'd have it if I were going to have a cheat day or something. I love fruit. I think it's delicious. But because of the sugar content, I keep that low. But vegetables, I do. I eat vegetables every day. And even those I eat what I'll call relatively high sugar ones because they taste good. So I have like carrots, which are pretty high
Mhm.
in sugar, and then sugar snap peas. Not because I think it's the right answer, because I think it tastes good. And, it's just me sort of hedging my bets a bit of having some vegetables without, going bonkers. And if I'm out at a restaurant or something, I like green beans, I like broccoli. It's just too fussy. I don't like to make that stuff. So, like carrots and peas, I can eat raw just straight out of the package. Because truly, truly, on the inside of all of my discipline is a very lazy person.
What are you drinking, by the way?
This is my diet Snapple, so I'm fiendish for 0-calorie beverages. I know some people like there's nothing that people give me a harder time about than that I drink Diet Coke. Um, but yeah, I love it the most. So anything that allows me to control my hunger, I'm all for. So if it doesn't have calories and it tastes sweet, count me in.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't relate more. I'm a ketogenic diet, but sometimes I do allow myself those drinks because sometimes I just miss that sweet
Oh
taste.
yes, you and me both.
Yeah. Oh, but what are your favorite vegetables? Like you said, peas and carrots. Like, are they your favorites? Like a
Yeah,
staple?
sugar snap peas to be very clear versus like a bowl of frozen peas, which I find horrifying. Uncooked carrots, my mom and I used to fight to the death about cooked carrots, which she made me eat as a kid, and now I have sworn to never eat another cooked carrot in my life, and I've held true to that. So yeah, sugar snap peas, carrots, broccoli, broccolini, asparagus is fantastic. Brussels sprouts when done well. Um, yeah, those are my jam.
Cool. What about your protein? You said you eat a lot of protein. What kind of protein? What kind of like meat usually, or other sources of protein?
Well, so because most of the time I'm trying to keep some fat with my protein, I'll usually do a burger, a steak, gyro meat, pepperoni, something that actually has a relatively high fat content. It's rare these days that I do low fat meats. I used to do a ton of chicken, a ton, but I kind of burned out on it, to be honest, because it was essentially all I ate for about 4 years. And I've talked extensively about this before about living in a state that's sort of bordering on what they call rabbit starvation, which is where you're eating ultra high protein, ultra low fat, virtually no carbohydrate. I was just an inflammatory mess. But didn't realize that's what was going on until we really started as a company looking at ketogenics and the potential benefits of a high fat diet. And in the beginning, I was so skeptical about a high fat diet and tried
Hmm.
it actually originally because there's some interesting data coming out about the potential anti-cancer properties of a ketogenic diet, which maybe is true, maybe it's not, but for me it was worth a try, and so I went on an ultra strict 4-to-1 ketogenic diet, which is brutally difficult to do, but it was transformative from an anti-inflammatory perspective. And so that had a huge impact on me, and that was probably about 3 years ago. And since then, I've just kept very elevated levels of fat in my diet.
Yeah, I mean, and even from the point of view that enhancing your mind capabilities, ketogenic diet, yeah, they say it's like a miracle. It makes you, I don't know, Superman.
Yeah, what's interesting? Like, so I'm a huge believer in keto, like huge, huge, almost an evangelist, but I haven't noticed any cognitive benefits, if I'm completely honest. The only thing I will say is if you're truly in a ketogenic state, where I'll define that as you have zero point 0.5 millimoles or higher of ketones in your bloodstream. If you're in that state, your relationship to hunger will change fundamentally. And so, whereas if I'm not in a ketogenic state, when I get hungry, I notice cognitive decline. I have harder time paying attention. I really have to force my will to like really stay focused on something when I'm hungry. That isn't true when I'm in a ketogenic state. And so that's fantastic. And so from that perspective, if you were, really hungry, you could say that keto allows you to maintain cognitive performance. But at my like normal baseline, if I then eat fat, I won't notice a difference.
Okay. Um, yeah, me personally, I'm in ketogenic state most of the time. Like I eat really, really low carb and a lot of fat. But yeah, and I never feel hunger. Like I just forgot what it feels like.
Yeah, and people will not believe you unless they do it themselves. I didn't. I was like, that doesn't even make sense because your whole life you go through these cycles of hunger, and they're so familiar and so like fundamental to your experience of being a human that I don't think people can understand what it really means to be truly burning fat. Like you're no longer a glucose burner, you are burning fat. And so whether you're getting it from your diet or your stored body fat, and the body can just switch so quickly between the two, they just don't understand how it changes your relationship to hunger.
Yeah, to hunger and to life, you just feel free because you don't have to be by the food.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, well, cool. Thank you for sharing your diet details. What about your training? Like, do you have any specific workouts you believe in or things you like to do? You said weight training. Do you do anything besides that? Can you give a little bit more information
It
about
really yeah, it really depends on what I'm trying to accomplish. So if I'm trying to get shredded, then I'm going to do weights and cardio. I'm going to be lifting 5 days a week. I'll be doing cardio probably 6 or 7 days a week if I'm really, really trying to get lean. And that's just what I have to do. So I have to drop my calories. I have to do a ton of cardio. And I've done it before, and it's a total misery, but amazing for discipline. And it really does make you like proud of yourself to put that kind of discipline in it. And then the results are astonishing. And being like crazy lean, I'll say being around for me, was probably about 8% body fat at my leanest. Like it was just awesome. And having been a chubby kid, like that was so cool to be that lean. I loved it. But I don't live at that level. So for the most part, I'm doing 5 days a week, working out. And then if I really feel like I'm just not sharp enough, then I might throw in a day or two of cardio. I usually do low intensity cardio again, just because like it's easy, right? And so I'm not doing it because I think, oh my gosh, this is the greatest way to do it ever. It's just a way that I know will keep me going. I'll do it. I'll put in the work. I'll get the result that I want. Because for me, like I have priorities, right? And so above the priority of the body is the priority of the mind. And so I know every minute that I'm doing cardio is a minute that I'm not doing something else. And the only way that I can really get into cardio is if I can listen to a podcast or an audiobook or something where I feel like I'm getting something out of that time.
Mhm.
And so that's really been a savior for me. But for the most part, from the weight perspective, I'm doing right now a push pull legs split. So I do my push body parts, my pull body parts, and then my legs separately on a day. And that works well for me. I probably don't mix up my workout routines as much as I should. Just keeping it real with you, and just simplicity, right? Cognitive load. So I have enough variation that I'm able to maintain my muscle mass, but if I really wanted to bulk, I'd have to put a lot more effort into it.
Yeah, it's all about balancing your priorities, right? Like you don't want to be a bodybuilder, so why would you train like one?
Yeah.
But just you might check out High Intensity Interval Training, 1 Minute Workout by Martin Gibala, the book that came out recently. Once I tried high intensity interval training that I do 3 times a week, 15 minutes tops. I don't want to do anything else because it saves so much time. It gives the same
Mm.
and more benefits than traditional cardio. So just a cool thing
Yeah,
I discovered.
I've done HIIT before and it really is effective. It just sucks unbelievably. So we all have our thing, right? So for me, I can do low grade suffering for a very, very long time. So I'm so good at that that I could, when I was really cutting, I was doing like 2 hours of cardio a day, doing it in the morning after working out, doing it at night, and I would just read the whole time. So it was like, okay, I'm going to be reading anyway, then I'll just add the layer of cardio onto it. And so that worked out really well for me because that kind of suffering I'm super good at.
Yeah, yeah. At the end of the day, you gotta find your thing, something that works for you. So, yeah.
No question.
Um, Okay, so this is your training. What about your mind practice, mindful practices like meditation, or you said you're a huge fan, of the power of the mind, your brain. That's why you're doing all that. So, what are your practices on a daily
So,
basis?
yeah, meditation. I definitely meditate anywhere from, say, 15 to 20 minutes, maybe longer if I'm going through a really stressful period. Um, and then the only thing that I do that I think is a little bit novel is what I was saying earlier is called thinkitation, where you're taking that alpha wave state that you get into from traditional, what I call just breathe meditation. You're disengaging the sympathetic nervous system, you're engaging the parasympathetic nervous system, you're lowering your heart rate, you're slowing your breathing, your mind is calming, you're getting into a space where you're making these unique creative connections. And then I try to leverage that to do thinkitating, where I take that state where I'm making these interesting connections, and instead of trying to just focus on my breathing, I try to let my mind wander actively. And so I'll usually feed it whatever the biggest business problem is that I'm facing, and just see if I can come up with a creative solution. And during that time, I'll keep my phone with me or a computer next to me so I can take notes. Because oftentimes, you get a great idea and I don't want to like try to remember it, so I'll just write it down. And that's been really, really effective for me. And then beyond that, I read a lot. And so reading is, it falls into this equation that I call ideas in equal ideas out. So, if you're taking in a lot of new ideas, the brain's job is to synthesize and to create unique connections. And it's those connections that I'm interested in. So you're not going to get as many new connections if you're not feeding your brain information to connect off of. So I spend a lot of time doing that.
Uh, a little bit more about your meditation practice. You said it's breathing meditation practice. Like, do you just, uh, I don't know, get inside your own space, inside your head, and just focus on your breathing, or are there any other details?
Yeah, so I sit cross-legged in a super comfortable chair. I use the app Calm, and I play like the sound of a summer meadow or a foggy stream. And I actually do it based on the time of day that I'm meditating. So if I'm meditating and the sun is up, I'm going to do the summer meadow. If it's raining outside, I'll put on the sound of rain. If it's nighttime, I put on the foggy stream, which is like the crickets and then I just breathe, and I literally just focus on a four-part cycle breath, where it's inhale, hold, exhale, hold. I got it from a guy named Mark Devine, who is has a thing called SEAL Fit. He's a former Navy SEAL, and he does it in four equal parts, and I didn't find that as pleasurable, so I've modified it, where my inhale is long, my inhale hold is short, my exhale is fast and shorter, and then my hold on the exhale is very, very long. And then I repeat. And so I just try to focus on whatever part of the breathing cycle that I'm in, and I find it intensely pleasurable. So I'm just focusing on really maximizing the pleasure of each phase of the breath, which, yeah, feels great. And once I tapped into that, it was actively pleasurable, and that you could get a slightly different pleasure from each part of the breath cycle, and that really trying to optimize that by focusing on it and by finding the most natural way to do that, just was awesome. And it helped lower my what I call background radiation, so anxiety, stress, whatever, just literally can take it to zero. And it does not matter, like no matter how stressed out I am, if I do meditation for 20 minutes, it's all gone. And meditation has really been transformative for me.
Yeah, that's what I hear from, a lot of people, a lot of leaders, and um, a lot of them kind of like mention it, but don't say that it plays a big role in their life, in their success, and their performance. But I think that's one of those vital things that if you want to be successful, you gotta do it. You gotta have some meditative practice. And I've been meditating since I was a kid because my father got me into that, standing on his head.
Oh,
But yeah, and for me, meditation, what I'm telling people, it's like brushing your teeth because your mind gets, dirty with all those thoughts and I
mm.
don't know, connections and used or broken, and you gotta meditate to fix it and to make it clean again to function properly. So
Yeah, I'm with that.
Huge fan of meditation. What about reading? Do you do any speed reading? Any techniques to read more, to absorb more material from what you read? And how fast do you read?
I read incredibly, incredibly slowly. So yeah, like scary slow. And I had to find a hack for that. And my answer to that is Audible, which allows me to listen to books and I can assimilate information auditorily very, very fast. And through practice, I've gotten myself where I can listen to a book at 3x.
Mm.
So the Audible app lets you speed up the playback. And so I've maxed out what they'll let you do. And that really, really helps. So that lets me get through about a book a week. So I read on average about 50 books a year. I read one book a year that's fiction. And that book I do tactily. So I like to hold the fiction book in my hand. I like to read it slowly, really like picture the environment and all of that. But that's the only book that I read a physical copy of, unless I'm preparing for an interview or something and they have a physical book and it doesn't exist on Audible and I have to read it that way. But that's probably less than 5% of the books I read.
Okay, but as I said, you just gotta find your way and what works for you, and that's ideal. But what kind of books you read? What are your favorites? Maybe what are you reading right now?
Well, I'm reading a book right now called Hit Makers. It's a fantastic book. I've made a list of the 25 books that I think anybody should read. They're the books that really, really impacted me. You can find those at impacttheory.com. And I even put them in order that I think people should read them in. So yeah, if people want to know like what books I recommend, you can go there and check it out. That's probably the question I get asked the most, which is why we ended up just turning it into a part
Mhm.
of the website.
Um, okay, what else I wanted to ask you? Uh, how do you think like important your health practice is? Like, what big of an impact it makes on other areas of your life, your business, your relationship, your family life? How important your health practice is for you?
Yeah, I think it's very important. I don't think it's the end all be all. And if you look at somebody like Stephen Hawking, it's he that just isn't an option for him, and he's still done just absolutely incredible things. And I think you can make demands of yourself, no matter what your physical situation, to still do the incredible. But as somebody who's really all about optimizing the mind, I can't help but ask, like, what could Stephen Hawking have accomplished if he could take the focus that he's honed by being shut in, what could he do also if he had that focus but could really empower his body and create that positive feedback loop between the body and the mind. So just trying to eke out every bit of potential and live as long as I can, honestly, like that's a huge thing for me. And then look good, right? So that's also a motivator. So I think it plays a really big role. It's certainly an important role in developing discipline and earning credibility with yourself and proving to yourself that through practice, through putting in the work, that you can become capable of something tomorrow that you weren't capable of today. And that is so, so powerful. And so to have something in my life that's a constant, very visceral, very physical reminder of that is great.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more, like of health practice being important, and I also, always asking this question, like when I see someone really successful and they say they don't really pay attention to their health practice, and I always like, yeah, I'm asking the same question, like, what could you do if you were actually paying attention to your health,
Right.
like, and you don't really know that until you do it. So that's that was important for me to hear from you. And uh, what do you think is the most important health practice? Like, if you had to choose one of those, like, your nutrition, your exercise, your
Right.
mindful practices, like, what would it be?
Nutrition, no question. No
Nutrition.
question. It's the one they say you can't outrun a bad diet. And I think 85% of how you look and feel and how you perform comes down to what you eat. Every single cell in your body turns over every 7 years. So you are quite literally what you eat. And as somebody that struggled with inflammation for so long, and then to change my diet to a high fat diet and see the dramatic impact that it has, or to stop eating bad food and start eating high protein and working out and literally see the shape of your body change. Or, I used to be 60 pounds heavier. To lose that weight and to just see the difference, to feel the differences, is pretty crazy and it's so dramatic. And, the vast majority of my weight loss came from diet. It didn't come from cardio. And I didn't start doing cardio until, I'd probably gotten to 13% body fat before I started doing cardio to get the last bit of the way. So, putting that into pounds lost, I'd probably lost 45 of the 60 pounds just from diet
Yeah,
before I
that's
started doing cardio.
yeah, a lot of people don't, underestimate nutrition. They ask me like, what exercise should I do to lose weight? And I'm like, well, what do you eat?
Yeah, you're asking the right question for sure.
Yeah. And what obviously you would recommend people to change what they eat if they wanted to yeah, improve, their health and to improve their impact on the world in success in all areas of their life. But are there any like particular advice in nutrition wise, like where people should start? What you think is the most important part when it comes to food and eating healthy?
Yeah, cut out sugar. I mean, that's just where everything should start. Cut out sugar, start looking at carbohydrate intake. And look, I'm well aware of how controversial. I think most people get the sugar thing. I think carbs may be a little more controversial, but I just speaking from my own anecdotal situation, like cutting out sugar, cutting out carbs was utterly transformative. So if somebody that that trusts me comes to me and says, "Hey, what should I change in my diet?" I would just say, cut out sugar, drop carbs, and like right there, the weight will just fall off. So, and it's a very simple approach to fat loss, but I think it is the most profoundly effective.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I did the same thing, cut out all of that, and the rest was just really simple.
Mm.
So, yeah, thank you, Tom, again for agreeing to be my guest in this podcast and giving me your time and giving our my listeners your time and sharing all this because I believe really that this is important part of our lives, to share of people, of successful people like you, to share and make people understand that you're not only successful in all this, in business, as an entrepreneur, as a husband, as a dad, but you also, it's built on a foundation of you practicing your health, so to speak, you dedicating your time to taking care of your of food you eat or of your exercise routine, no matter like where you are, how busy you get. So thank you again. And
Absolutely.
is there anything else like you want to share with listeners today, and also like where people find out more about you, about your mission, about what you're up to?
Yeah, if people want to engage with me, I'm very, very active socially. You can find me at Tom Bilyeu. My last name is spelled B as in Bravo, Ilyeu. That works on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Works everywhere. It's all the same. So yeah, join me socially.
Yeah, and any other partial thoughts or anything you want to add?
No, I think we touched on the major stuff. That was great. So yeah,
Well, cool. Yeah, thanks again for doing that and sharing this with me and with listeners. I'm really
absolutely. It was
grateful
my
for that.
pleasure. Thanks for having